Well, hello! Welcome to the Confident Live Marketing Show. My name is Ian Anderson Gray, and in this episode of the Confident Live Marketing Show, I'm talking about the excuse that so many of us make. I'm just too late to do this. I'm just too late for that. Do you make that excuse? If you do, you're not alone. We're going to be talking about the excuse, the reasons behind it, and what you can do about it. So I'll be with you just after this.
Welcome to the Confident Live Marketing Show with Ian Anderson Gray.
Helping you level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of confident live video.
Optimize your mindset and communication and increase your confidence in front of the camera.
Get confident with the tech and gear.
And get confident with the content and marketing.
Together, we can go live!
Well, hello, my name's Ian Anderson Gray. Welcome to episode 144 of the Confident Live Marketing Show. Now, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've been doing a show. It's probably been about a couple of weeks. The podcast has been going every Friday, and I've got another bit of exciting news. I've got another episode. We're going basically 2 episodes per week for the podcast. A bit more about that in a minute. But yeah, I've just needed a bit of a break. And do you know what? That's okay. I don't feel guilty about it, apart from the fact that if you have been waiting for me to go live, and you know, I do, I love it. I love my live audience and my community. So I've missed you guys, but sometimes you have to just stop and you have to listen to your body and to your mind, and you just need to have a break. And so that's what I've done over the last couple of weeks. I've obviously been doing other things. I've been doing lots of work, but it's been great just to recharge those batteries, because although I love live video, as an introvert, I do find them quite draining. I'll be honest with you. And I do 3 or 4 live videos every week. I do a show for Restream, which I'll be doing later today, 2 shows for this, and sometimes another show as well. So I think it's important to listen to your body and to have a bit of downtime as well. But yes, so I've been really thinking about consistency and my content. And so I've got some news for you. I'm excited about it. Basically, my podcast goes out on Fridays. It's repurposed from the show. So that's on a Friday. The blog post that goes with it is on a Friday as well. My newsletter is on a Friday. And if you would like to subscribe to my newsletter, go to confident.live/newsletter. But I'm going to be doing a YouTube video every Monday. And so I've actually just published my 3rd YouTube video in a week, and that's going to be a big thing. But the other thing is I'm going to be doing another episode for my podcast on Wednesdays. And this is very different. This is just me in front of the microphone. There's going to be no camera on, and it's just me sharing my thoughts and ideas. So if you are interested in that, then just go to iag.me/podcast, and that's where I am at the moment. Oh, Katie Simpson is in the house. Great to see you, Katie. Hope you're doing really well. And saying, I'm glad to hear it. It's important to recharge and enjoy it and not feel guilty. And yes, the guilt thing is real. And we're going to talk a bit about that in today's show. Today is very much about mindset and about something that I've been thinking about a lot recently, because it's something that I've struggled with. And I'm sure it is something that you struggle with too, if you're like most people. Maybe you don't, and whatever. Don't feel guilty for not feeling this today. But that's we're going to be talking about the excuse that we sometimes make, which is, I've missed the boat. I'm too late to do this. I'm too late for that. And I would love to know from you whether you have ever felt like that. When it comes to business. We've got somebody watching in a Facebook group. Unfortunately, I can't see your name, Facebook user, but great to see you. If you want me to see your name, just go to confident.live/show my name and just give permission for Restream to be able to see your name. Confident.live/show my name. But great to see you. Hope you're doing really well. And Katie also says, ooh, I'll have to have a look at the other YouTube videos. The first one was great. Thank you, Katie. You know, you just got to start. You've got to start. And that's kind of one of the things I'm going to talk about. Now, the other thing, today I thought I'd do something a bit different with the show. We didn't do the countdown timer. I'm experimenting at the moment. I'm going straight in with the content. That means that, you know, you might be joining a little bit late. Let me know what you think about that. Do you like my countdown timer thing? That gives time for people to join the broadcast. I know a lot of other live video people do that, but I'm just experimenting with this because the problem with countdown timers, I totally see why we want to do them, and it does create the engagement. I'm a big believer of them for big events. So we did that for Janet Murray's event, and we had loads of really cool, engaging questions that we asked during the countdown timer. But I've always been slightly uneasy about countdown timers for shows like this. And one of the disadvantages is when you have a countdown time at the beginning, it's really bad for the replay viewers. So if you have to kind of wait through that countdown timer, or you can trim them. But if you trim them, that causes problems sometimes on Facebook, and also it can cause issues on YouTube, because if you trim your YouTube videos, you get rid of the chat replay. And I'm really wanting to focus a lot more on community. You know, my live audience are really important, and I don't want that to get in the way of that. So it's something I'm experimenting on. I'm not saying we shouldn't use countdown timers. I just want to play with things and see what you think about that. And I mean, I quite like the countdown timer because I quite like the music, and it also gives me a bit of time and space just to get things ready. But Katie says, I love the countdown timer, but I'm wondering whether to stop mine because I can't get Facebook and YouTube to work to remove it. It's so fiddly. Are you talking about, the trimming? Yeah, it is fiddly. It takes a bit of time to get used to how to do that. You can trim videos on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, but the disadvantage is on YouTube that you lose the chat replay. It's not the end of the world, but, and Annette says, interested to hear what you say about countdown timers. I've got a giveaway coming up with some included. I'm on the fence at the moment, but I think it's important that we all experiment. And I may come back in a month after doing all this, and I'm in love with them. And, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, just to say that next episode, so this will be next Friday if you're listening to the podcast, or this Thursday if you're watching live. Bit of a controversial episode. We're talking about, is Facebook Live dead? And if Facebook is listening into this and the algorithm, my reach will be reaching the bottom of the pile here. But yeah, I want to talk about, is Facebook Live dead? Because a lot of marketers are kind of grumbling and talking about this. But not many people are actually talking about it publicly. And I'm not saying, I don't believe Facebook Live is dead. Okay, that's important to say. But I do think things have changed, and it is much more difficult. The reach is going down, and I think we just need to rethink our strategy. And so I'm going to be sharing with you what I think the way forwards is, for at least for me. But also, I want to kind of look at not putting all your eggs in one basket. So if you're just going live to Facebook, I think that's a dangerous strategy. You need to think about building your community on land that you own, first of all, but also think about other places like YouTube or Instagram Live, which is very, very different. So anyway, I'd love to know what you think about that. A bit scary, but that's what we're going to be talking about. Carl is talking about countdowns. I think when first starting out, a countdown can be helpful. Just 1 minute to give you a few seconds to take a breath and be ready. Yeah, and I think from my point of view, I love countdown timers because it does give me that break. But yeah, I'm experimenting. Anyway, today we're talking about the I'm too late excuse. Have you used that before? It could be questions like, do you feel that you're just too late to the game when it comes to running an online business? There's so many other people out there that are just so far ahead of you. You're never going to catch them up. That's what your brain is saying. You're too late for Facebook Live. Too late to launch your podcast. Too late to launch your newsletter. You're too late to join Google Plus or MySpace. You might be a bit too late for those two things. But if you feel like that, if you say those things, you're not alone. I think you will agree with me, though, that kind of thinking is deadly. It's really pressing that self-destruct button. And so I'm going to be sharing the dangers of this thinking, but why it's not all negative and what you can do about it. Yes, Annette. Too late, too old for it. Oh, yes. I mean, I'm going to be honest in this episode today because it's something I've really struggled with. For me, I've let procrastination, comparisonitis, which is this comparing myself with others thing, imposter syndrome, other excuses get in the way. Now, I've been diagnosed with ADHD this year, so chronic procrastination kind of is part of the territory. But, I don't want that to be an excuse for me. And I think we can all come up with those excuses, imposter syndrome, all these kind of things. They're all deadly things. And they've all got in the way of me growing my business. And I can look back and I can think, oh my goodness, if only I had done that, if only I'd done this, I would be so much more ahead today. That's really dangerous thinking, really, really dangerous thinking. Deadly, in fact. And it's a deadly problem that so many of us face when we ask the question, or if we use the excuse, but I've left it too late. The thing is, this is really, really important. I genuinely mean this. You can still launch your podcast and be successful. You can start going live now and be successful. You can start your YouTube channel and be successful. You can start from scratch. But, like all untruths, there is usually an element of truth in this. So it's not like a black and white thing. I think it's important to say that. Carl is saying, I post videos to YouTube and wonder if going live on YouTube has messed with the algorithm a little. Yeah, that's a different kind of question, and I'll come back to that. That's a really, really important thing, and it's something that I'm thinking about a lot. And Carl says, just because people may have started a long time before does not mean there is not room for you or your way of doing it. And that's absolutely right. You have a particular style, a particular personality and voice. And this has taken me a long time to get used to this. And, I used to think, why would anyone want to listen to Ian? Me? Why would anyone, where there are other people out there that are much more successful than me, you are maybe more eloquent with their words and more energized and things like that. Why would anyone listen to me? Of course, that's defeatist thinking. It's destructive. It's not true, because the thing is, I'm going to be somebody's cup of tea. I'm going to be the cup of tea of my community because I am who I am. And it's the same for you. Comparisonitis is a deadly, deadly thing that we should stop giving into. Okay, but let's look at the kind of the element of truth in the statement, I'm too late, because there is a tiny bit of truth in that. But I'm going to say to you that this is not a problem and not an excuse. You can start all these things like a podcast or a newsletter, but it is going to be harder to get traction than it was for people who were there at the start. I've been listening to my friend Cliff Ravenscraft's podcast, and he was interviewing Pat Flynn. They're good friends, and I kind of, and this is wrong to think this, but I'll just be honest. I was thinking, yeah, but Cliff and Pat, it was kind of easy for you back then because podcasting was like new. When podcasting was the new kid on the block, most people hadn't even heard of a podcast. But if you were there at the start, you'd probably be the only one podcasting in your niche, and you'd be able to ride that wave of popularity. Okay. But the issue was, and I don't know what Cliff and Pat would say, but setting up a podcast back then was hard work. The technology was not developed. We didn't have amazing podcast hosts like we do today, like Captivate, and, getting the technology working was just really hard. These guys like Cliff and Pat had to work it all out for themselves. Today, we don't need to. It's so much easier. So, yes, it was kind of easier for them to become more popular, to ride that wave. It wasn't from a tech point of view. Now we've got it the other way around. It is more difficult to stand out and to get there, but it is a lot easier. The thing is, if you don't start now, you may never start. This is where the whole procrastination thing comes in. Then if you never start, then of course you will definitely be too late. So I'm going to be a bit of tough love here. And I say this to myself, stop making those excuses. Remember, you have an audience. I want you to say this to yourself. I have an audience. Now, you might just be starting and you have like 0 people on your list and 0 people watching. That might be the case right now, but you will have an audience, whether you know this or not. An audience who want to hear from you. Don't leave them waiting. Don't leave them waiting. So important. I love Katie's cup. Is that a cup of tea you're sharing there? A cup of coffee? Yeah. I've got my cup of hot water because we've run out of my tea. I love Red Bush tea, Rooibos tea, and we don't have any. Carl is saying, I'm in the early days, or in the early days, you could pretty much copy what others are doing, but now you need to show your individuality rather than a carbon copy of what others are doing. And that's true. And that's difficult stuff, isn't it, Carl, in a way? Also liberating. So you need to absolutely embrace who you are. And Carl, you are doing an amazing job at that. I love what you do. You're just being real. You're just being yourself. I don't know whether you'd say this, but it kind of almost feels like you don't really care what other people think. You just do it. And guess what? You have a community. You have people who come and watch you live every time you do it. And because you are being you. You are being you. Thanks for that, Katie. Yeah, that's it. So Katie's just said, I love this encouragement. And that's one of the reasons why I do what I do. Yes, I do what I do to make money. I want to support my family. I want to do things. I want to give back to the community. There's lots of things that I want to do from a business point of view. But I honestly, one of the big reasons why I do what I do is because I have this heart of encouragement. I want to encourage people to get on with it and to share with the world, with their community, the message that they have inside of them. Sounds a bit cheesy, but it's true. So the I'm too late excuse, it's a clever excuse that your brain makes. Your brain's quite clever. You might not think this, but it's quite devious as well. It's quite clever because it comes up with these excuses to avoid certain things. It wants to protect you. It wants to protect you. It doesn't want you to have pain. It wants to avoid the pain of hard work. And a lot of us are lazy. There's an element of laziness there. I'm going to admit that. But also and this is a big one for me, avoiding failure. It wants you to avoid the pain of avoiding failure. As a child, like a toddler, we fail a lot, don't we? When we're trying to learn to walk, we fall over loads of times. There's loads of things we stumble over our words. Kids are amazing, actually. Look at like young kids and learn what they're doing. They don't stop just because they've fallen over in learning to walk. So yeah, wants to avoid the pain of avoiding failure and just avoiding the other kind of negative stuff in our lives. Okay, so that's I think that's the big thing. But what are the steps to overcoming this? And I've got 9 or 10 steps that I want to share with you. And I'd love to know from you if you've got any other thoughts on this, because this is just something that I'm working through. So the first thing that's so important is be honest about the problem. First of all, to yourself. You need to be truly honest with yourself about the problem. We can so often lie to ourselves and think, it's not a problem, or we beat ourselves up, and we actually, the beating ourselves up thing just then allows us to avoid thinking about the problem. So be honest with yourself about the problem. And then number 2 follows on from that, and that is, can I be honest with the people around you? Now, I'm not talking about posting on social media about this, like going on social media and just saying how awful you are and woe is me and all this kind of stuff. No, that's not the right place. But you need to have people around you who understand you, who support you, that encourage you, and you talk to them about it. Talk to people around you who understand the issue and can encourage you. Don't try and do this alone. Don't try and do this alone. The third one is really hard, okay? Because remember, that brain wants to avoid hard work and wants to avoid pain. But the third one's really important, and it is digging deep and working out what is actually underpinning the problem of the "I'm too late" excuse. What is actually underlying that? Now, I've come up with, what did I say before? You know, the brain is trying to avoid the hard work and avoiding failure and avoiding, other things. But often it is more complicated than that. And there may be things in the past that we haven't dealt with that will be making that more, just a stronger negative feeling. So, number 1, be honest about it. Number 2, talk to close people around you. 3 is dig deep. Number 4 is get help. Now, this is optional, but I kind of wish I'd done this earlier. And that is perhaps coaching, counseling. It could be mastermind groups, but it's kind of like following on from talking with people, but it's something that's a bit more proactive, something that's actually going to help you get to the bottom of this. Okay, so that's a lot of that is kind of quite painful and hard, but number 5 is when we can then start to do something really positive about it. And those things before, by the way, are really positive, but now you actually will start to see something that's really, really positive. Number 5 is very unsexy, but it's have a plan. Why are you doing what you're doing? You want to launch a YouTube channel and you're saying, I'm too late for that. Well, you've dealt with the reason why you thought you were too late for it, and now you know you want to do it, but you need to have a plan. Why do you want to launch a YouTube channel? What's the point of doing that? Because in those difficult times when you're feeling like procrastinating and you're not wanting to do it, you can say to yourself, no, I'm launching this YouTube channel because I want to. It could be like you want to monetize it. You might want to give back to the community. You might want to get more clients. It might be any of those things. So have a plan, and then that will make it easier. Number 6 is turn up. Turn up and do the stuff. Launch the podcast. And I want to quickly move on to number 7, because I think number 6 and number 7 go together. Turn up, but don't be perfect. Don't try and be perfect. Oh, this is a massive one for me. So, like, YouTube is a case in point for me. I have been wanting to post consistently on YouTube for quite a few years. And it's only been the last couple of weeks that I've actually achieved that. Well, it's still very early days, but I posted 3 or 4 YouTube videos in that 1 week. And my aim is to have a YouTube video every Monday moving forwards. That's my commitment to myself, but also to you, my audience, my community. And there's more to it than that I want it to be really valuable and all this kind of stuff. But the big problem was that I was trying to be perfect. I've always talked about live video. One of the reasons why I love live video is that it's the perfect antidote to perfectionism. It can't be perfect. I've already stumbled over my words. I've said and and all this kind of stuff. Doesn't matter. There's nothing I can do about it because it's live, okay? But with pre-recorded video, yeah, that's more of a problem because I've got to have a script and I've got to do all these things. And yeah, it is more difficult to do. And when I released myself from the burden of perfectionism, it changed everything for me. And actually what it was I did a paid work for a company. I produced some YouTube videos for them. They wanted, I think it was 6 YouTube videos, and they were paying me for it. So there was that incentive. But the big incentive was, Ian, we need it by next Friday. I thought, what? But it was them pushing me for that deadline that allowed me to do it. And then I realized, actually, I can do this. And were they perfect? No, they weren't perfect. I've looked at, if you look at all the really kind of like popular YouTube videos, they're far from perfect. They're just like somebody in front of the camera. So turn up, don't try to be perfect. Number 8 is really important, but you can't get to number 8 until you've done all the other stuff here, and that is to be consistent. And the only way you'll be consistent is if you unleash yourself from perfectionism, you turn up, you have a plan, and you've dealt with all the other stuff. So this is why we can only get to number 8, consistency, if we've dealt with some of those other things as well. Now, there's a bonus one here, a bonus point, which is you need to work at that internal dialogue in your head. Soundtrack, if you like, because that voice in your head will still want to say things like, Ian, you're too old, or you're not as energetic as somebody else, or Ian, you're not that great, there are other people that are better than you. All those like false claims, those false thoughts in your head, you need to change that soundtrack for something else, for a positive soundtrack that is actually telling you the truth about yourself. That's a whole other topic. I've talked about it in the past. I will talk about it in the future, but I just wanted to bung that in there. And then the final one, and this is what Carl has said. I mean, actually, Carl, you've said it already, which is be you. Stand out from the crowd. Don't try and copy what other people are doing. This is really hard for many of us because we're afraid of showing the real us in front of the camera. But when you do that, it's so liberating. Like today, this is me. I'm just in front of the camera. I feel a bit nervous because I'm live and I want to deliver value to you. But honestly, I feel liberated. I'm just being me, and I'm sharing these thoughts with you now. And will this be everyone's cup of tea? Some people will be turning up and think, oh, I can't get on with this guy. This is British accent, or I don't know, sense of humor, or I don't know, his lack of style or something like, I don't know. But honestly, it doesn't matter. Like Carl, there might be some people that don't like your beard, they're not your crowd, are they? They're not your crowd. So you have to stand out from the crowd and be distinctive so that people will actually stop and watch you and then interact with you. And if you're running a business, they will end up trusting you and then buying from you. That's the goal. That's the aim. So be you, stand out from the crowd is so, so important. Now let's have a look at some comments here. Yes, Carl is saying, don't be perfect. Yes, that's my motto. We need t-shirts with that. I am actually thinking about some t-shirts and stuff in that kind of vein. And Annette. Annette is saying, that's what it is. The burden of perfectionism. Yes. Yes. But you can become a recovering perfectionist. That's my goal. I am a recovering perfectionist. And that's what we need to say. So, and Lisa Monks is in the house, I think. So maybe you, Facebook user, are Lisa. If you are, welcome. We've got the Australian contingency. Is that the right? Oh, my words, my brain. But yes, great to see you, Lisa. I miss you guys, and hopefully I'll see you next year. I don't know, or the year after. whenever we have that. Now, Carl is saying consistency is what is holding me back and or causing me the most issues. And that's interesting, Carl. I don't think you should be beating yourself too much about consistency. Yes, consistency is important. But I honestly think you're doing an amazing job, Carl. You know, you are turning up, you are creating value. And don't ever do consistency for consistency's sake. You've got to work out, Carl, what is the best thing for you and your lifestyle and what works for you. So don't, again, you know, Carl, I don't need to tell you this because you already know this. You know, don't copy what other people are doing. You know, just because some people go live every day or live every week doesn't mean you should. I would say there are good reasons for producing weekly content, but you honestly need to do what is best for you. And I, as I said at the start, I had to take the last couple of weeks off from going live. I needed a break. But the podcast for me is absolutely consistent. That's every Friday without fail. And I've built... So I think for you, Carl, actually, what might be the way forward is thinking what is having a plan and a process that's going to allow you to be consistent. Now, you might not be able to go live every single week, but you might be able to produce some other content every single week and to build it up from there. But it can be a gradual process. Now, I don't know whether this is Lisa, but saying those damn voices need to hush. Yeah, we all have them, those negative voices in our heads that tell us that we're no good. And I think there is definitely light at the end of the tunnel, because I struggled with this big time. I'll do another show about this and I'll talk about my story and the real struggles that I had in believing in myself. It was other people that have believed in me that allowed me to move forwards. But things are so much better for me now. The inner dialogue is still there. The inner negative dialogue is still there, but it's dampened. And yes, occasionally it pops up, and occasionally it goes away completely. But it is possible to definitely deal with. Annette says, how could anyone not like those specs? Thank you for that. Yeah, and it is Lisa in Oz. Great to see you. I don't know what's happening with like conferences next year. I know Social Media Marketing World is going ahead, which is great. I'm hoping to be there. We'll see. I haven't made the decision yet, I'm hoping to be there. And also, Lisa says you need to write in the heading the link we need to click so you can. So you can see who I am every time, so that every time you say it, you speak too fast. It's confident.live/show my name. Confident.live/show my name. And yes, I should put it in the description. Apologies for that. Carl says, good point, Sir Ian. Thank you. And thanks, Annette, for sharing the link. That is great. And Lisa, I can now see your name, which is great. Thank you, Lisa. It is all working. And that's actually the last time you'll need to do it, because it will work in future, not just for my show, but for other shows in that group if they're using Restream. Anyway, I think that's probably all I need to share with you today about that. But I hope this has been helpful for you. I'm just going to quickly go through all of those again. So first of all is being honest about the problem. This is all about using that excuse, I'm too late. I'm too late for this. You know, it's very defeatist thinking. It's that negative thought. Number one, be honest about the problem. Number two, talk to people who understand the issue. It could be a mastermind group. It could just be close business friends. Not family can be helpful. Obviously, depends on how well they understand your situation within your business. Number three is dig deep. Do that deep work. Actually understand what's underpinning the problem. Number four is get help. If this is an option for you, it could be coaching, counseling, therapy, whatever you want to call it. Again, it could be joining a mastermind group and surrounding yourself with people who are actually going to be encouragers. And that's actually been a massive thing for me, is surrounding myself with people who are encouraging and helping me and lifting me up. If you have people who are trying to get you down, I'm not saying ditch those people, but you need to, because they they have their own issues, and you may need to at some point be able to help them. But you should absolutely surround yourself with positive people who are going to help you. Number 5 is have a plan. Have a plan. Number 6 is turn up. Number 7, don't try to be perfect. Number 8 is be consistent. Number 8.5 was changing that kind of soundtrack in your head and dealing with those negative thoughts. Number 9, the final one, is be you. Stand out from the crowd. And there is a number 10, which is go back to the beginning and repeat. Rinse and repeat, because this is something that you're going to have to deal with for the rest of your life. It'll become easier and easier and easier, but you have to go through all of those things because there will be some unresolved stuff that you'll need to deal with. So that is really, really important. Carl says, I went to order a t-shirt or a cap from you, but it was in dollars, not pounds. Is it still the right place to order from if in the UK? So this is, thank you, Carl. This is from, this is my merch shop. This is pressandsew.com/confident live. And yeah, it is from the States. So it does mean that unfortunately the shipping is a bit more expensive to get it over to the UK, but they are such an amazing company. I went with Press and Sew. If you want to get a t-shirt or a cap, maybe let me know and I'm going to be ordering some stuff myself and then I could ship it over to you and that might be cheaper. But yeah, that's that. And Annette is saying, Lisa Monks, I'm up for some therapy with you over Christmas. That sounds nice. I like that kind of therapy. And Carl says, courses like the ones that Ian has will help you get to chat and know others in the same situation and learn support from each other. And I think you're right, Carl. Those cohort courses is what is the posh name for it, which is you don't just walk through lots of videos and do it yourself. You're actually walking through with other people who understand the issues, who can encourage you as well. And I think that is so, so important. Well, we're out of time today. This is deliberately a little bit of a shorter show today. I have got, if you're watching live today, I've got my show for Restream later today, which is winning with live video. So that's going to be fun. What are we talking about on that one? I've actually forgotten, which is not good, is it? Camera confidence hacks, that's the one. So we're talking about, ways of becoming more confident in front of the camera. So that's camera confidence hacks. And of course, on Thursday, I should say, or next Friday, if you're listening, we're asking the question, is Facebook Live dead? So this will be at 5 p.m. in the UK. That is 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. I'm afraid I don't know the time in Australia. I'm pretty sure it's like 2 a.m. So that's why I do these two shows. I do a show on Tuesday, which is UK, Europe, Australian friendly, and my Thursday show is kind of more American friendly. So I hope you forgive me. But that is it for today's show. Thank you so much for watching. Do check out my newsletter at iag.me/newsletter. That's the one. iag.me/newsletter. But until next time, I encourage you to level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of Confident Live Video. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks for watching the Confident Live Marketing Show with Ian Anderson Gray.
Make sure you subscribe at iag.me/podcast so you can continue to level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of live video.
And until next time,
Toodaloo.